Hey guys, Monique Leslie, Misfit Crafter from Misfit Crafter Studio and the Misfit Crafter Menagerie Shop. And today I wanted to bring you a quick little tutorial or layout that I'm going to do in my little traveler's notebook junk journal that I like to use from time to time. And what I'm going to do is just show you how to decorate a page using nothing but stamps. So this page, this page in particular has a little bit of just some gesso and some little paints that were put on with the gel press. You can look that up if you want to see a little bit more about that. But I had put this paper on the gel press, did a bunch of stuff with it, and now it just needs a little something else. So I'm going to use various stamps. I'm going to show you all the different stamps and different ways you can do stamps, and just start decorating the page. So one fun thing that I got recently from Amazon was this ATC card set, which is really, really cool. I'll put a link down below on where you can get it. But I like that it has all these different frames, and then it has like ATC and the artist and all that. But I want to use the frames today for purposes of what we're going to do in here. Haven't even opened it, so brand new. Let's go ahead and open it together. But I really liked all the different frames and stuff that are in here, so it's really cool this way. Different things that we can use to decorate it out. This one's really pretty. This one has like roses and stuff. So I think I'm going to use that one. It's very, very soft. Alright, I'm just going to grab this guy. It should be big enough. Yep. So there we go. And I think for this one I'm going to just use a black. This is a Brutus Monroe Detail Ink and Raven. When I like to ink it, I usually ink it with holding this and then bringing my stamp pad to my stamp. It helps a little alleviate getting ink in places that you don't want it. Just depends on the stamp itself and the block you're using as well. We got that nice and saturated. And I think I'm going to just put that right in the middle. Now you can always use like a stamp press or something like that, so in case you end up with places missing like this, but I'm okay with it right now because this one's gonna be a little bit more of a tattered looking one, so I'm not gonna worry about it not filling in some of the areas. I'm gonna do a quick cleanup of my stamp because this one will settle in. It's probably because this wasn't primed, but I don't know if it's the stamp itself not doing it. Actually, let's do a little test so we can see if we like the stamp. Here's just a piece of regular cardstock. We'll do it one more time to see if it is a stamp or was because just of how I have the paper laying on here. Important to find out, like, so again, I'm just doing that. It is important to me that the stamp works at all. So let's try that again. I'm just gonna put it right here so I can make an ATC card out of it if I need to. So I'm pushing down on all sides just to see if it was the stamp, or see if it was just the positioning of how I had the book. Are we going to get the same result? Because this flower right here, which is this one right here, is like completely missing. I got one missing down here. I know it's better. I mean, I got some other ones that ended up being missing. Actually, looks like there's a hole there. But no, that flower came in okay, and that flower, all this section came in better. You could probably use another stamp, but it's not bad. So there's nothing wrong with the stamp. It's just sometimes you need to do it twice. So let's go ahead and clean off this guy real quick. I use my Squeaky Clean from Brutus Monroe, and I usually just give a little pump. I'll open this guy up. And it comes in bottles. It doesn't come in the pump, but you can get a pump from him, but usually get them from the Dollar Tree or something like that. I'm just getting a little cleaning solution on the top of my little scrub bud here. I have these on my shop if you're interested, but I like them because it helps me to get into the grooves of my stamp to clean it off. I'll put a link below for the scrub bud too. You can also put like cleaner inside of here, and it will cleaner, water, whatever you want. But I like it just because it helps get into the grooves of everything with the little grooves. You can see that pulled off a lot. So I'm going to do this. And usually you can just go rinse it off, but since I am not near the sink or anything right now, I'm just going to use a handy dandy little wipey. Get all that stuff off of there. I'll pull all that off of there. But the squeaky clean also helps to condition. I always lock it back. So now we have a nice little stamp here. So let's go ahead and add a few more little elements. So I have these other like paisley looking stamps and flowers. I'm thinking I'm just adding it along and layering up my design. And I know it's going to be a little hard to see, but let's pull it up. You can kind of see it. In person, it's a little bit brighter. Because of the darkness, it's going to be a little funky. But I want it just mostly for a layer in there to add some color. So you can always add layers and different dimensions just to add some different effects to everything. So the difference on these two is this is a dye ink and it dries pretty quickly usually, and then it also sets in better. Once it's dry, you can like put water over it and everything. Distress oxides, on the other hand, will they're slightly water activated, but they give you more of a chalky kind of matte look instead. Let me get this guy to focus right there better. There you go. You can kind of see it. It's just a little bit. And if you want it to as well with the stamping, you could always use embossing powder on the ink and then heat it up with embossing powder. So there's different ways of doing it. So we're already using that. We're going to use a lot of black in this one. So this is another one. This is just like an old office stamp. Just has a bunch of numbers, points, X's, percentages, things like that. So they'll usually just randomly kind of, unless I want a specific date or something that I want to remember, I'll usually just randomly put different numbers, things like that, just stuff that looks cool. I'm just making sure that they're all something in there like that. I'll use this guy. It's one of my favorite stamps to use. And I'll usually keep a little scrap right here on the side. So if I want to go off the page a little, just like that. Just a little extra little added accent, really cool. Like I said, you can put significance to dates, but today I'm just putting, I have no significance on here right now. I just want it to look cute. You can use other things, you know, to add different little accents. So if I want to, I can always use, this is like an old eraser that's not erasing anymore. So I'm just putting it on the blue Distress Oxide, and I can go in here and use that to make a series of little circles. Don't be afraid to like go in and use things that are just lying around, bottle caps, things like that. See what kind of pattern they make. This one's really fun way to do things with different stamps, just to add details, but you don't have to really think about it too much. You can carve your own. I'm not good at the carving part, so I'm not showing you that, but you can carve your own stamps if you want to. All kinds of possibilities on the ways that you can do things. You can also use, like this is one of my blenders, so it has its own little surface. I wanted to see what that would do. Let's find out. I'm willing to sacrifice one. I actually have a bunch of extras. So it's just Velcro, and I'm getting that in there in the ink. And I want to see what it does. Let's try it over here. Didn't do much. It gave it more of a texture, which there's already a texture on this. That's probably why I'm not seeing anything. Oh, that's kind of cool. All right. Kind of hard to see, but kind of like a little scratch texture, which is kind of expected. You see those little scratch textures in there? There you go. It's kind of fun. So it's a little hard to see on this because there's already a texture, but it does show a little. So I push it hard enough, you can kind of see it. And I'm pretty sure if I go like that, you're going to see even more. That's not bad. I just got to mark that I actually did that to that, because I know later on I'm going to pick it up and this is going to happen again. Another thing that I have are rolling stamps. I can't say 100% that you can still get these particular rolling stamps, but I know they make other rolling stamps. This is one of my favorite ones. So these are kind of older rolling stamps, but this one has a little star pattern to it. There, you can see the star pattern that's on that stamp, and it's a little rolling stamp. On the other side, it has the actual stamp. You can see that pretty well. Now, this stamp is kind of old, so they came pre-inked. It was part of the Stitch, We Are Memory Keepers Stitch Happy, I think it was called, where you could actually also get these little rollers that have poked holes. They still sell that. I don't know if they still sell the stamp ones. Those ones are harder to find, but I can tell you, yeah, this one still has ink in it. Some of my other ones don't have ink in it, but you can see how it made the cute little stars in there. Let me get you just a little closer here. This is another fun way to just add some visual interest. They made it where it's supposed to look like different stitches. So this one just happens to be stars, but they have like actual stitch ones also. And they come with like a little slidey cover that covers them up, so you're not getting ink everywhere. So even if you can't find this, there's definitely roller stamps. This one is losing its ink just a little, but it'll still work. I actually need it to go this way. There we go. So it makes it just look like a little stitch along the side of the paper. Let me see, it looks kind of like a little stitch. But it can also be used for making lines or whatever else you want it to. You see it comes in like different stitches and stuff. Some of these are the pokey hole ones, but these other ones are stamps. A lot of them are duplicated because I got them off of somebody online that happened to have a whole bunch of them. Said I'll take them all. This is a really cool little clicky stamp. And on the side right here, it'll show you the patterns. It's a little bee pattern, or beeswax pattern, or honeycomb pattern. And same thing, it's just a little roller stamp. They still make all kinds of roller stamps. So it's not going to be something that you won't be able to find. But all I usually do is just cross over a bunch of other ones. Just make it look really cool. And then we have some like little paisleys. I think I'm going to use this guy here. So we have like all these little paisley stamps. You can use patterns, you can use all kinds of other stuff. I usually like to use something that has like a good big visual interest of some kind. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's see. All right, so I'm going to get the pink again. This is the Kitsch Flamingo and the Distress Oxides. I'm going to get that, just to add a little more pink in there. Put that right over this guy. It's just giving it a little pink. And then if I want, I think with that one, what I'm going to do to bring it out some more, because you can also use your stamps, like I said, with different embossing powders. And I have this really cool shimmery embossing powder that has like a pink, it's blushing pink pastel, but it also has a little bit of like a yellow glitter, a yellowy gold glitter. So we'll go ahead and use this. This was just like an oopsie sheet that I printed on for some pins that I made. But this thing is packed too. I'm gonna pour that on. Hopefully the rest is dry. Always making a mess with this. But it looks like I didn't let it dry long enough on the rest of it. So it's kind of made it, but it's kind of also picking up some of the honeycomb. That's okay. I can still see the pattern. Put the rest back in. I'm going to put you on pause while I heat it up, and I'm going to silence it so you guys don't hear that. All right, we silenced that up just so you don't have to hear all of that. But as you can see, it did catch in other places that I didn't see. but it kind of made it look cool. I like it because it pulled out the little bits of patterns and things like that in places. And then I dried it just a little bit more so that hopefully a little bit more of it's dry. Um, but I like it. I like the way that that came out. You can see it. And it just catches a little shimmer, which is cool. So that's another way that you can do it with different stamps and things like that. And then you can also, sometimes what I'll do then is once I've done it with some sort of color or I've added the embossing in there, I will go back with black and do it again. Right, let's go ahead and ink that up in black. Let me go back over my original stamp. It's going to be embossed, so it's going to be a little funky. So that's okay. You can see that a little better now. You can see how it's just over it. It makes it just look like it has a nice highlight. I mean, you can do that just with the ink as well, but I wanted to give it a little bit of a texture and everything with it. So that's like a really good way to bring in more texture when you're using different stamps and things. But don't be afraid to like just experiment, go in there, do all kinds of different stamps, layer your stamps over and over again. You know, like I layered the little dots and then layered more pieces. So it gives you all these options of different ways that everything shows up in there. A little more in focus. You can see all the different stamping that was put in there, which is awesome. And I think I'm going to do the same little highlight with these two guys so you can see that actual stamp a little better. Because I love that we can see the pink in there, but it looks more like paint. So I'm going to get this guy, pull off any excess off of these other two. There we go. Oops, wrong one. That's right. Actually, I think I'll do the whole one on this one. I believe when I did it, I ended up pulling it all the way this way. That's gonna go. It's a pretty stamp. And see, it just gives it a nice different little visual interest, and then I can go in there and ink it more with other things. It's really fun. You can see different ways that you can add the stamps. Show you a couple of other pages. So here's a little tag that I just added a little visual interest up here with the stamp here. There's more stamps here. These are actually stamps on top of paper that I put in here. So just to give it a little bit of something. There's a little tag that just has 3 stamps on it. And you can do all these techniques on your journal directly or into ephemera that goes onto it. Here's another little example. This is a piece of just cheesecloth fabric that I stamped on top of here. This one is another stamp right here that I just put on another piece of paper and put right on top. More visual interest with making borders and things with different stamps in there, just to give it a little bit of interest again. This is kind of showing through on the other side because of the ink and things on this side, but here's another stamp just to say no day but today. Another, that same leaf stamp on just a piece of, it's like a piece of tissue or something that I have like from a scrap. Got a nice big Union Pacific stamp on top of a little envelope pocket. Here is a big stamp right here on another little tag. I mean, just use your stamps all over the place. Pull out those stamps that you haven't used maybe in a while and just start stamping up your pages. This is a really cool, fun way to do it as well. I'm going to show you this method on how that was created. That was actually with Simon Hurley's stamping block. It is a heatable stamping block, and you can use it to make all kinds of different. So they come like single 4-packs, 2-packs, things like that. But this is what it looks like. When you get it, it basically just looks like a gray block. This is a simple gray block. You can also do this with craft foam. If you get thick craft foam, you can get thick craft foam and you heat it up and you push something into it and it will make different stamps. As you can see, this is the one that I used here. So this is actually this stamp here. that you can see, and I just pushed different elements into here, other stamps, just other little things that were on my desk, and I just stamped it in here. Here's another stamp example that I made my own stamp, and the cool part about it is that if you heat it up again, you can use it over and over and over and over again, so you don't have to just use it once. I just happen to never reheat it, so that's why the stamped images are still in there. So if you don't reheat it, they'll still stay in there. They'll start, what happens is that they'll start lightening up a little bit more and more, and they'll start going away a little more and more. But I mean, some of these I've had for well over a year or two actually, and they've stayed there. But I'll show you how to do it with the new one, just so you can see the different textures and things that you can put into it, and then we'll stamp it on one of the pages so you can see how that works. So I'm going to silence this real quick just so you can see me with the heat up process. You do want to make sure that you get out whatever it is that you want to use. So I think what I'm going to do is create myself a nice big stamp out of this frame, because it's perfect and I can make my own frame stamp. So that'd be really cool, I think. So let's try that. All right, and usually you can tell because it starts to shrink just a little bit. It's kind of hard to see from there, but it shrinks just a little bit. You'll see it kind of just shrink just a little. But then you want to go ahead and right away push down your element or whatever it is nice and hard. Put it on there for about 10, 15 seconds, and then you can pull it away, and as it cools, it'll stay. So I usually kind of just feel it to see if it's cooling. And if it doesn't work the first time, you just heat it up again, and then usually you get the idea of when to pull it off and everything. So that gave us not too bad of an imprint. You can see that a little. That's really cool. It's not quite as much, but then I did notice it's kind of hard to see it right here, but these kind of curve down, so it's kind of hard to get it in there. One of the other things you can always do is get it this way and then just push down really hard this way instead. So I think I'm going to try it one more time. Let's heat that back up so that way you can see also what happens when you heat it back up. It's the easiest way to tell if it's hot enough is because all this will basically disappear. All right, so now that we've gotten it heated, you can see that it all went away. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab it and let's try it the other direction. We're just gonna push nice and hard so that we can get it all on these corners as well. Just push down in that center and in the corners, and that should give it enough pressure all around to get the look we're trying to get. I want to try to get more of it in there. Oh, much better. Okay. So you can see that's a much better outcome than it was before. You can see more detail in there. It's a little bit bigger. So let's go ahead and try that. All right. We'll let that cool just a little bit. Yeah, it's nice and cool. And I mean, even things just like your thumbnail going in there, you could hold that in there and it's going to hold that little thumbnail shape in there. Let's see if you can really actually see that, but that's my little thumbnail in there. Give it another little curve to it. So why don't we go to the other book? I think I have a bit more blank areas in there that we can use. We should be able to get away with it going on the bottom here. Go ahead and open that up, pull that out. I try to make it as smooth as the flower right there. It should fit just down here though. So let's go ahead and get this guy. Let's ink it up with our raven. Actually, yeah, we'll do the raven. It's fine. I can see some like imprints that are deep in there, but that'll be pretty good. I mean, that's gonna look pretty well. All right, let's give this a try. You just want to get in there and squish it all over. This is never, probably almost ever, going to give you a nice crisp look like a regular stamp would do, but it's really fun just for getting different objects and pushing them in there. I mean, look, we made this one from a frame, so I'm hoping it all comes out as much as possible, particularly the middle. The middle's going to end up looking like a big splotch. Let's see. Ooh, that came out way better than I thought. Look at that. How cool is that? You can get in there with a white pen or something. It would look freaking awesome. Doodle around it with a black pen. I think that would look absolutely fantastic. We'll go ahead and let that dry for a minute. Now, how to clean it and get it all back off, right? One, we're definitely using us some Squeaky Clean. and some whites, and probably our little scrubby helper. This one's gonna call for a lot. So when you have this much ink, you're gonna want to get as much as you can off without having to actually like scrub it out and do all these, putting all the cleaner, because what you don't want is it dripping ink all over the place. So I'm gonna get that, and I'm gonna get this just in case. So then it'll fall over my desk. So you can see not a lot's coming off because this is a pretty permanent ink. But when we get some of this guy, actually just gonna open this guy up because we're gonna need a bit. It's all black. You can already see it starting to clean it a little bit. I am in no way like trying to commercial this stamping or any of, I mean, yeah, British Mill, I don't get any affiliate or anything off of that, as far as I know. I don't think they even have an affiliate program, I'm not sure. It just happens to be my favorite. It's a friend of mine, a crafty friend of mine that owns the company, and so I like to share with you guys what I like. So this is just allowing me to get in those grooves. And I didn't want to put the heat to it so it'll expand without grooves yet, because I was afraid if I did that, I was really going to bake in the ink. So that's why I didn't do that. But you can see it's pulling off that ink pretty nicely. So now let's get another wipe. Another couple of wipes because that's going to soak right through real fast. All right. I'm folding this over so I don't completely touch it with my hands, because I know that it's going to come right through that. You see it already coming through. And I know I'm probably not going to get it all off because it's black. And that's coming up pretty good. Let's try just a little more on there. Oh, really, really cool part about Squeaky Clean that I love that he does is that he comes out with different scents sometimes, some like special scents. One of my favorite one was like a spring one that was like jelly bean or something like that. It smells so good. All right, I think that's probably as good as we're gonna get it. That's the original color right there, and then that's kind of what we've got left with, but it'll be fine. If anything, I'll just make sure that this is my stamping block that I use, stamping foam block. I forget exactly what they call it, but make sure that I do it with black ink only on this guy. So let's go ahead and pull that out and we'll see how it looks. Okay, so I forgot to undo the silent while it was, um, well, we had the heat on, but this is basically now all heated up, and there's still like an impression from the actual stamp. There was a little bit of an impression on the side right here, but other than that, it was all smooth now. It's, of course, it's still going to show the pattern, but you can always use like all the different sides. But you could keep putting in another pattern and another pattern. It's just going to show it because the ink wasn't in the inside of it, so it should be fine. But yeah, so this is because of the detail ink Raven. It's basically, you're never going to get it completely off, but it's definitely safe enough now. You stamp again, it won't show. So here is the finished product with all of the bits all stamped and everything. And then you can still layer, you can put other things on there, papers, fill it in with ink, draw in it, do all kinds of other stuff. It just creates a really nice base layer basically. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is just show you really quick another way, one last thing that you can do, which is just sort of, I think of it kind of like a stamp masterboard. You can create a masterboard with nothing but stamps. So I'm going to go ahead and just stamp the number stamp all over this piece of cardstock scrap that I have. And I'm going to put a paper under there before I start marking up my entire desk. But then, just go ahead and randomly stamp all over it with different stamps. I'm just going to use the number stamp for this particular one. Let's go ahead and speed it up so you can see it all stamped up. Okay, so right here it's all done, just stamped all over the place, half on, half off, twisted it different ways. So now one of the things that we can do is grab our ink blenders and some ink. And right now I'm just drying it off just to make sure that that is nicely set. Doesn't take too much time. But we'll grab our ink in our ink blender, and then now we can just make a nice blended ink background. And this basically serves as, like I said, I think of it as a stamp masterboard that you could cut up using different things. You can make it a page in a book, whatever you'd like to do. All right, so here it is all inked up and all stamped up. So now we have that ready to, like I said, make bookmarks, use it as an insert of some kind. You could fold it in half and make another little mini album with it, a book cover, junk journal cover, anything that you wanted. You can use it as a stack, cut it up and make it part of a layer in a stack, on a cover stack or anything like that. And you can use it for all kinds of things. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Hopefully you learned a little bit of something about the different ways that you can use stamps, from embossing to using the back of an eraser, using just different stamps and layering them up to create all kinds of fun layered effects on a junk journal page, just to add accents, things like that. But yeah, so hopefully you liked everything you saw and come back for more. Can't wait to see what you guys create with your own journals.